This is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can communicate with me directly by typing your questions or comments into whatever platform you're watching this on, and it will appear here in my chat room. And today our subject is love. And there are a number of things I want to say about love, and the thing that I want to say about it most is how little I think we really give it credit for what it is. Um, so during this last 6 months, as you know, I've had a variety of health problems. Um, well, really one health problem, but continuing. And this has been a concern for me. And one of the things I've been doing, and in some cases, even before then, is I've been writing letters to people for after I eventually do leave this world. Hello to Mary in the chat room. It's good to see you, Mary. Um, and one of the things that I found myself writing last night, because I had had a conversation with someone who is important to me, and I thought, maybe I should write a letter to this young person I will not necessarily see grow up, that they can have when they have grown up, and tell them some of the things I would have told them in later years. And I don't know that I won't see them grow up, but if it comes to pass that I'm not here that long, this letter will remain for them. But one of the things I talked about in the letter is that when we die, we don't really get to take things with us. We can't take our wealth with us. We can't take our jewelry with us. We can't take our stuff with us. What we take with us are the things we learned in life, the skills we acquired in life, and most of all, the bonds we made with other people, the love that we acquired in life, the love that we developed in life. And that is what got me thinking about this subject for today, because I do believe that that our relationships with others, our love relationships, also our hate relationships. And I have to tell you, in the end, I think that love and hate are the same emotion, just in different extremes, their attachment to other people. But this is one of the major things we take with us when we leave this world, and we bring it back when we're reborn. I think everyone has certainly heard of the idea of love at first sight and also hate at first sight. And I think everyone has probably experienced meeting someone somewhere along the line that you either had a really good rapport with right off the bat or a really bad feeling about right off the bat. And to me, these are things we've carried forward from past lives, memories of relationships we've had with that soul in the past that tell us that, yes, we really like this one, or no, we don't. And of course, there are other things that can also cause those reactions, including what you pick up from them psychically. But I think a lot of times it's our pre-existing connections to them from past lives that cause us to have those feelings. And hello to Janet in the chat room. Good to see you, Janet. One of the things this causes me to think about is that, considering this is one of the main things we get from this life, we really don't pay it nearly enough attention. Um, and I think that even when you meet someone who seems to put love very high in their life, often what they're really putting high is drama. But of course, there are some people who do. But I think that really there is a reason that people make their relationships with others so central to their lives, because it is central to our lives. It's central to why we're here. It's central to what we'll take with us. And I think that for a lot of people, especially in industrial society, um, people were taught, for example, to put their job first and their family second, their friends third. Um, I don't think that's what we should be doing. I think we really need to make our relationships very important in our lives, particularly those good ones. And hello, Lynn, in the chat room. It's good to see you, Lynn. And I also want to say that, I've made the comment that love and hate are really the same relation. It's passionate connection to another person. But in terms of the ones we make important in our lives, it should be the ones that are love. Um, because those are the constructive ones. Those are the things that carry us forward. Hello to Raven Wolf in the chat room. And, it's very easy in life to find drama. It's very easy to find people that you'll have bad relationships with. But it's the good relationships that make life worthwhile. And I think all of us would benefit from stopping and taking time to consider our good relationships, to put more energy into them. And and Janet says, I always put family and friends first. And that's exactly what you should be doing, Janet. That's perfect. That's wonderful. Because all those other things that we have in life are going to be less important when we move on from this life than those relationships we form. Now, I do believe we also carry forward the skills that we acquire. Um, I believe we carry forward the memories that we acquire, but when we come back into this world, they're very hard to access. But for our spirits, they go forward. Um, but in terms of what we'll bring back to our next incarnation, it's these relationships, first and foremost, that we will be aware of. Um, and secondly, skills that we have mastered. So I think that I would very strongly recommend an exercise that I learned long ago and have done on and off for years, but not nearly as much as I should have. And that is to take some time every day to make a gratitude list of the things you're grateful for in life, and in particular, the people that you're grateful for. I can think back through my life and think of a lot of people that I'm grateful to have had in my life. Some of them are still with us. Some of them are long gone. I'm very grateful for both of my parents, even though, I often say that I'm the son of a madman and a saint. Um, but I am grateful for my father as much as for my mother. Um, for the skills I needed in this life, he was perfect. I learned a great deal from him, just not always in the most pleasant ways. My mother, on the other hand, was wonderful to deal with. But I'm grateful for both of them. Grateful for my grandmother. I'm grateful for many of the people that I knew. Um, every now and then I mention George McGilvery. I'm very grateful I've known him in life. We became very close friends when we were small children, and then didn't see or hear from each other for decades. And recently were able to communicate. And Mary Cavalcante says, I'm going to put this in my morning ritual. This is a great idea. I highly recommend it. I think that it'll cause you to be aware of the reasons you have to be joyful that you may not always think about. Um, some of the people I'm grateful to have known over these many years include people like Carla Summers and Wendy LaJoy and Virginia Powell. And of course, Lady Crystal, Lady Bitterwind, uh, Katrina, otherwise known as Foxglove Death McLeod. Wonderful people that I have known. And I could make a similar list of people that have not been so good to know, but I don't really want to spend time or give them any part of my mental real estate by thinking about them. I much prefer to think about the good things in my life. They say that everybody brings you a blessing. Some people bring it when they enter your life, some bring it when they leave your life, but everybody brings a blessing. And I think the ones that deserve our time and our thought are the ones who bless us when they enter our lives, the ones who bless us by being in our lives. And as magical people, one of the things we most often forget, and even I have done this, is that we are magical people. That where we put our thoughts, where we put our emotions, do affect what we get. Um, it's natural, I think, as humans, that when we face problems, we may obsess over them, that when we face difficulties, they will take a prominent place in our brain. But as magical people, we really need to not let that happen. We need to put our attention on what we want to happen and keep it there. Because the whole point of magic is that we do this. We know we do this. And so when I see people who focus on their problems, who focus on the misery in their lives, um, my thought is usually that, well, energy goes where attention flows. Or I guess it's energy flows where attention goes, but you know the saying. Much better to focus on what you want, much better to focus on what you're grateful for. Now, of course, when we have problems, we have to stop and focus on them. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but focus on how to improve them, not just wallowing in them. And yet I see magical people do that all the time and then wonder why things don't do better. And so I say, even I have been known to do this. Because in the end, we are all only human. And we all do have the faults that humans have. But as magical people, we should remember the things that we know about energy, about magic, about the universe, and focus on those things. Um, it's not uncommon that people have all sorts of problems. That's part of living in this world. But part of being magical is focusing on solutions, focusing on improving our lives. So, what I would say to you is, as a magical person, even if you're new to the path and you don't yet realize how magical you are, do focus on those things you want. Focus on what you want to happen and how to magically bring it forward. And I think that you will find that is the best thing to do. Um, and it's interesting when we stop and think about our relationships. They're all there to teach us. Um, Both the people we love and the people that we don't have positive relationships with, they all bring us lessons. But I do think that focusing on the love in our life is the best thing to do. And as I was saying, and Mary says, this is exactly what I need to remember. Yes, absolutely. And, as as I was saying, I've been thinking a lot in recent months about the end of life. Because I've had some serious health issues. As far as I know, my heart is still not performing anywhere near where it ought to be. Um, I'll know more after future doctor's appointments. I may or may not still be in need of an operation that I may or may not be able to get. I'll know more about that after the end of this month. But it puts you in a certain frame of mind. And one of the things that I have found myself focusing on is that at the end of our lives, particularly when you're in a position to see it coming, you really have to focus on what's important. And And this is really what I am finding to be the thing that is important. The things that you love, the people that you love, the things that have been positive and constructive in your life, and to water those plants, to appreciate those plants as you go forward. Um, and because again, what do we take with us when we go? It's certainly not the house we live in. Um, Now we could argue about, how things are created in the astral, but you know what I mean. Our house will remain in this world where other people will live in it, or it will be torn down. Um, as our things will go into others' hands, but the relationships that we have had, the lessons they have given us, the pleasures they have given us, and the bond of love created, those things do go with us. And I think that's very important for us to remember. So, we're currently in the month of October. One of the things I have historically done a lot in the month of October are seances. I had one scheduled for this last weekend. I had to cancel it because of a lack of internet where I was. But I have rescheduled it for the 21st of October. Um, I may schedule some more. We are planning a Samhain ritual for, I believe, the 28th of October. And I really want to focus on working with the spirits. So it's probably going to be the case that for the rest of this month, I will be talking about the spirits and the afterlife because it's the time of year for it. As you know, I'm working on a new book, the Corellian Book of the Dead, which focuses on this issue in particular. And so, I mean, these are all reasons why my mind has turned this way. One of the things, and this is moving a little off of. Mary says, "Are you going to post a new schedule on Facebook or Patreon?" Yes, I should be doing that here presently. Um, I yes, I would expect I will be putting up a new schedule presently, and probably also of what's coming in November. I have a number of interesting projects I'm working on. I mentioned the Book of the Dead. We're also working on Witch College. We're going to be working on um, we're going to be working on a graphic novel, and I don't know how much I should say about that, we're working on a graphic novel as we come to the end of this year. I'm kind of feeling excited about that. One of the things I really wanted to be doing more of is artwork, and I'm looking forward to doing that. We have a lot of projects coming into the pipeline. Um, I do have to say I'm a little slower at things than I used to be, and that has gotten my attention too. But I guess we have to expect that as we get older. And I was looking at all the stuff I wanted to do last night, and yeah, around 11 o'clock, I ended up going to bed anyway, um, because I just am no longer able to work around the clock as I once did. And I look back on my life and I ask myself, what was it worth it to work around the clock as often as I did? And I'd have to say yes in the end. However, there are, at least at this moment, while I talk about this subjects, there are some places where I might have changed my focus a little bit more to the people rather than the projects in my life. I was always raised to be very focused on moving the organization forward, moving the projects forward, getting things done, and very rarely scheduled things for myself as such. And um, I couldn't have done it differently because that's just kind of how I was. But I find myself scheduling things a little differently now. And um, I'm still very concerned with my projects, but I'm also trying to look at other things of importance in life. And um, I'm reading comments in the chat room if you wonder why I go silent. I'm not always quite certain what to say to them, but on this occasion, I think the main thing I would say that I have learned in the last 6 months is to really stop and look at what's important in your life. And, that's not about death, but rather about life. And I think that often, I often talk about one of my favorite movies, The Adding Machine. The Adding Machine was made, I think, 1970, 1969, 1970. It starred Milo O'Shea, a name that most of you have probably never heard, unless you're film buffs, and Phyllis Diller, who you might remember, although she is of an earlier generation. One of her few starring roles in a film, and it was about a man who um, who ends up murdering his wife, Phyllis Diller, and goes to the afterlife. And the important thing about the movie to me is how they show the afterlife. But the other thing that's important about it is kind of how they show his life before this happens. And it kind of, when I think about it, is the message I'm speaking today, that you want to focus on the good things in your life and um, not focus all of your energies on things that don't really serve you. You want to focus on what builds you, the relationships that build you, the things that you like. And I highly recommend that film. It's one of several films that I am particularly fond of in terms of its exploration of the afterlife. But as I say, it's also pretty instructive about this life and where we put our attention. Um, and we are in October when the veil is said to be thin, and I will say that as a medium, I don't really notice any difference in October, but that's because the veil is always thin for me. I've spent my life dealing with the spirits, who I will tell you are pretty happy. They like where they are, at least the ones that I deal with. And so the comment was made in the chat room that death is transformative and the end is never really the end. Although that certainly is what I've learned working with the spirits. And it's not negative. They are, as I say, quite happy where they are. They have different roles there as we have here. Some people who cross over, they're in need of healing. They get healing. Others are not. They may be giving healing. Many are spirit guides. But everything that I have learned in dealing with them is very positive about the afterlife. And so when I talk about um, when I talk about focusing on this, I'm really focusing on my life, not on death. Um, because honestly, death is not a big deal. When I write in the second degree about when my mother died, and that I mean, she said to me bluntly, "Death comes to me as a friend," and I imagine that I will feel the same way because we've worked with this all our lives, and we are pretty clear on what is involved. It's not something to be afraid of. Um, if anything, it's this life that we need to put our attention on to get the most out of. I find for myself, one of my questions is, as my health um, wavers, as it does, how do I get the most out of life? And this is part of my answer to that by focusing on the good, positive relationships, the good, positive experiences, and the lessons that come with them. So, with that, I see we're nearing the end of our half hour. And hello, Ebony, in the chat room. Ebony says, "Love you so much." Thank you, Ebony. I love you too. Um, if you like my work, you can support it through Patreon at revdonlewis.com. We also have Corellian Publishing. If you enjoy my writing, you can get it through there. Um, we have numerous projects coming up, as I've been saying, and lots of things going on. And today has been a rather philosophical day on Midday with Reverend Don, but I think an important point. And as I was saying, the comment was made in the chat room that death is a transformation, and the end is never really the end. And I think my point today is to remember what goes with you when you go, and to focus on it before that time comes. To think about the things that are really important in your life. In this last 6 months, a number of physical things I was once very passionate about have left my life, such as my library, for example. Um, there are still some parts of it in existence, but most of it has left my life. And, I don't actually really notice. I do my research online now. But either way, at the end of this life, the library would not have gone with me. It would have been here for others. Um, the things I learned through it would go with me. Um, I look at other things that have have left my life in similar ways, and it's really caused me to look at what's truly important. And what's truly important is the people, the relationships, the love you share, and so that, I think, is today's message to you. Share that love, appreciate that love, and if there's not enough love in your life, make more. Um, love is one of those qualities that, as the great poet said, is not diminished when it's shared, but rather expanded. And the more of it we have, I think the happier we all are. So thank you for joining me today, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And let us close, as we always do, with our prayer. And Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to help us to focus on those things in our lives that are important, and help us to ignore the things in our lives that are not. Help us to know the difference. Help us to have our sense of perspective in play. Help us to build the positives always, and not the negatives. And when others try to build negatives around us, let us simply walk past them and continue to build positive things. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for this and for all the things you do in our lives, knowing you're always with us, but from respect, we thank you. May you be blessed now and always. And I thank you. May you be blessed now and always. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.